Desantis signed a few really amazing bills into law, including one that promotes fatherhood. You wouldn't think this would be a controversial subject. Fathers are pretty important to the whole population and important in the home, and fatherless homes statistically lead children to grow into poverty and crime and drugs and everything that pretty much makes life miserable. So you would think the left would love this just as much as the right, but for some reason, they really don't like it. Luckily, we have some great leadership in the governor's office and also in the state legislature. Florida House Speaker Chris Sprowls was instrumental in the drafting and passing of this fatherhood bill, and he joins us right now. Speaker, congratulations, first of all. As the wife of a former state senator, I can tell you I absolutely know the feeling you get to when you've been through those late nights and those early mornings and finally you see fruition. This has been a huge week for you. Tell us what the fatherhood law does and why it was so important for you to take up, because there are easy bills to take up and there are bills that aren't so easy to take up. And I know the difference. Sometimes it's hard to see from the outside if you haven't been there, but this one was important to you. Why?
Well, thanks, Gina. Thanks for having me back. It's great to be with you. And like you, this was an important issue for our family. 2 years ago, when I was designated as the next Speaker of the Florida House, it was around the same time as the Gillette commercial. You remember that, where they talked about, toxic masculinity and all of those things. And it was a pretty ridiculous thing. And the reality is that I thought it was a good time to talk about fatherlessness because, as you said, whether it's suicide rates or drug abuse or incarceration, all of these ills that we see in society, the single greatest uniting factor is the absent father in the home. So we wanted to do something big. We talked about it 2 years ago. Just the other day, Governor Desantis signed the bill. It's got $75+ million included in it, which is to specifically lift up grassroots organizations who are engaged in the fight to bring fathers into their children's lives, whether it's organizations that have a national presence like All Pro Dad, which you've seen Coach Tony Dungy, who's been involved in, which makes sure that dads are playing an active role in their children's lives, or local organizations like Man Up and Go or Hope for One Child. But all of these organizations are really in the mission of making sure that fathers play an active role in their child's lives. So we've got grants to those community organizations. And for those children who don't have a dad in their life that's possible, or they don't have a stepdad or a foster dad, we make sure we put money in there for mentoring programs, because we've seen in those same studies that without the absence of a male role model in a child's life could have devastating consequences. So, this is the most significant reform effort by any state in America to combat fatherlessness. And the reality is this isn't just about our state. I think that, Governor Desantis was signing the bill the other day. We signed the pro-life bill yesterday, and he spent 8 or 10 minutes talking about the fatherhood bill because the reality is all of these things are linked. It's about the family. It's about the nuclear family. And you mentioned why people are against it. I think that's why. I think that there's a small segment, and I think it's a very small, loud segment of our country that doesn't like anything that talk about keeping a family intact and the success that has on raising children. Well, we don't care here in the state of Florida. We believe in families. We believe in fighting for those families. And this week, as we led up to Easter, you saw the governor sign the fatherhood bill and then sign our pro-life bill yesterday. So it's a great week for families in the state of Florida.